Have you ever wondered why SCP-096 is so notorious within the SCP Foundation? I've been a fan of SCP content since all the way back on July 26, 2012, when my favorite YouTuber uploaded a video about a game called SCP Containment Breach. This gives me nearly 12 years of relevant experience, and I've spent the last 30 days reading and rereading every piece of information I could find related to SCP-096, and what I learned shocked me. In this video, I'm going to take you through the 4 main things that make SCP-096 one of the most feared anomalies in the SCP Foundation. But before we get into that, we have to understand what the SCP Foundation is. The Foundation is a secretive organization with the primary goal of discovering and securing anomalies. These anomalies encompass a wide range of entities, including people, aliens, locations, objects, even abstract concepts. The SCP Foundation strives to uphold normalcy and avert potential chaos by keeping these anomalies hidden from public awareness. There is so much more than that once you dive deeper into the story, but I'll save that for another video. So why is SCP-096 so feared? Well, imagine your favorite horror character. It could be from a movie, a book, even a game. What makes him so scary? Take Vecna from Stranger Things, for example. He's a humanoid monster with black skin and movable vines that protrude from his entire body. Part of him is relatable. He's somewhat human, but he's twisted and contorted and visually petrifying. Yet for some reason you can't look away. How does that relate to SCP-096? Well, SCP-096 is also a humanoid creature, standing nearly 8 feet tall. Extremely skinny, with bones pushing through his skin. His arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of his body, stretching to almost 5 feet in length. But most disturbing of all, his jaw can open 4 times wider than a normal human's. Fun fact, that's enough to fit your head. This alone creates a sense of dread just by looking at him, which is a really bad idea, but we'll talk about that later. The first thing that makes SCP-096 such a feared and loved entity is his physically horrific appearance. But in order to create true terror, there needs to be more than just visual fear factors. Take The Invisible Man, for example, particularly the 2020 movie adaptation. It creates a sense of helplessness and dread, even without having anything to see. The entire movie follows Cecilia Cass as she deals with the psychological terror of being repeatedly harassed and attacked by her unseen assailant. When we think about SCP-096, he's normally extremely calm. The pressure sensors inside his cell indicate that he spends most of the day pacing by the wall. However, when someone views his face, whether directly or by video recording, even a photograph, he enters a state of absolute emotional hysteria. He'll cover his face with his hands, begin screaming and crying, babbling incoherently. After a brief couple minutes, enough time for whoever saw his face to realize the mistake they made, SCP-096 will begin his hunt. He will find that person and he will make sure his face is the last thing they ever see. Psychological terror behind the story is the second main point that makes him such a horrific adversary. SCP-096 instills terror through the psychological fear that his face might be accidentally or indirectly seen, leading to a relentless pursuit. The constant vigilance creates mental exhaustion. The risk of inadvertently seeing his face causes a sense of vulnerability, and the fear of visual media fosters pervasive paranoia. SCP-096's appearance alone is terrifying. With his nearly 8-foot tall skeletal frame and disproportionately long arms. Beyond his look, the psychological terror he induces is even more horrifying. Viewing his face, whether directly or indirectly, triggers an uncontrollable reaction within SCP-096. This creates constant sense of vigilance and vulnerability, as fear of accidentally seeing his face is ever present. But how did we learn this behavior? At some point, he had to have been contained by the Foundation. Well, the document Incident 096-1A on the SCP Wiki details a significant moment in history when SCP-096 was sighted during a retrieval mission in the mountain range. Several personnel witnessed his face, triggering his aggressive response. During the incident, he killed multiple personnel and destroyed several vehicles and infrastructure. Special scramble gear, designed to filter visual input and prevent viewing of his face, was deployed. However, it failed, leading to further casualties. Following the incident, he was ultimately subdued and recontained. The failure of the scramble gear led to a review and changes in containment procedures to prevent future breaches. The third thing that makes SCP-096 so gripping is the fact there are valid and horrific incident reports depicting just how malevolent he is when his face is viewed. But before I talk about the final point, let's quickly look at how the Foundation contains SCP-096. SCP-096 must be contained at all times within a 16 by 16 foot airtight steel cube. Mandatory weekly inspections are required to check for any cracks or holes. No video surveillance or optical tools of any kind are allowed inside the cell. Security personnel must rely on pre-installed pressure sensors and laser detectors to confirm his presence. Any photographs, videos, or recordings of his likeness are strictly prohibited without explicit approval. Now, remember how at the beginning of the video I said I was shocked by his story? Well, this is why. SCP-096 was once a normal human child who was laughed at and bullied because he looked different. Maybe he was too tall, or maybe he was too skinny, or maybe he just wasn't what people wanted him to be. This caused deep depression and self-hatred within him, and he eventually grew up and his body changed to match what he believed to be true about himself because of those kids who bullied him. He became a horrendous, monstrous atrocity. The final thing that makes him so scary is the fact that he was once, like you, normal. His backstory of being a vulnerable child gives you a moral dilemma. His origins add a layer of emotional depth to his terror. Once a normal human child, his transformation into a monstrous entity due to deep-seated self-hatred invokes sympathy and moral conflict. The backstory raises questions about whether SCP-096 is a victim of circumstance or a manifestation of his own self-loathing, adding complexity to his character. Did he do this to himself, or is he just a product of his unfortunate situation? It's simple to protect yourself against him, and yet you feel bad for him. You don't want to look at him, but you feel like sympathy and understanding are what he needs. But sometimes not looking is the worst thing you can do. For that story, click the video on the screen now. Thanks for watching.